Part 43. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 421. Chapter 421 Meeting Rong Xiu again. Yuan is fortunate that the world of cultivating immortals has this advantage. There is no need to study like ordinary people, and she can just earn spiritual stones based on her ability and practice. In addition, monks have many benefits. Not only can they live longer and enjoy a fairy-like life that ordinary people cannot enjoy, but they also do not die from illness or disease. As long as you practice hard, it is possible to become an immortal or a god, on par with heaven. After the mother and son were sorted out in the space, they came out of the space and teleported to the next city. After Liang Bao sold the unused things, the mother and son moved to another city. Like this, it won't attract anyone's attention. This city is very prosperous, and Yuan decided to stay here for a few days. The next day, mother and son went to the market as usual and sold Liang Bao's things. After everything is sold, the stall is closed. "Mom, let's go to Dan Pavilion to have a look," Dabao said after leaving Fangxi. "What are you going to Dan Pavilion to sell, or what to buy?" Yuan asked. "Dabao, hand over a batch of elixirs." Did mother forget that today is the day to hand over the elixirs every month? Oh, Yuan patted her head. She had really forgotten about it. Dan Pavilion has stores in every city. It is a chain store. Dan Pavilion specializes in selling high-quality elixirs and high-level elixirs. As long as you have spiritual stones, you can sell the elixirs you want in Dan Pavilion. Dabao's alchemy level is high, and the quality of the elixirs he concocts is of good quality. He has an agreement with the Dan Pavilion and will hand over the full quantity to the Dan Pavilion on the 1st of every month. Of course their price is 10% higher than the market price, and Dabao is also willing to trade with Dange. The mother and son came to the door of Dan Pavilion and walked into Dan Pavilion with familiarity. The Dan Pavilion in each city is the same. The Dan Pavilion is shaped like a hexagonal building and has 5 floors. Different pills are sold on each floor. Dabao refines all second-level elixirs. Whether they sell them or not buy them, they only need to trade with the shopkeeper on the 1st floor. Dabao went to trade alone, while Yuan and Bao were waiting in the lobby on the 1st floor. "Senior, what do you need?" At this time, a man pushed a wheelchair in, and a man in a cloak sat on the wheelchair. Mother and son looked at each other. "Rong Xiu. Why is he here?" Yuan quickly turned Bao's face away. Rong Xiu did not answer the clerk. He pushed the wheelchair towards the mother and son. "Wan Rong Xiu's cool and pleasant voice sounded. Yuan turned around. "What a coincidence," she said coldly without even looking at Rong Xiu. He could still recognize him even though she was relieved. "Wan it's not convenient to talk here, can we talk somewhere else?" Rong Xiu's voice became much gentler. When Yuan wasn't paying attention, the cloaked man held Rong Xiu's hand, and Rong Xiu shook it back to express comfort. Bao stared at the two people in front of him warily. Hearing from his mother's tone, he didn't like that person very much. Although he was very good-looking, Bao didn't like him very much. Yuan's consciousness is looking at Dabao. Dabao hasn't come out yet, and she can't leave. This man is stuck here again, and even the people in the store are looking in their direction. Rong Xiu's face is so stunning that if it weren't for the powerful aura on his body, all the female nuns in the store would have pounced on him. That's it, some female nuns still looked here frequently. Yuan really didn't want to have anything to do with him, so she said, "Whatever you want to say is the same here." Rong Xiu breathed a sigh of relief. He was afraid that Yuan would not even want to listen to him. "My father has been poisoned, and I would like your help to make a 5th-level detoxifying pill." He said this through a message. Yuan frowned after hearing this. Did he know that she could refine 5th-level detoxifying pills? That's right, Didn't the poison he gave Mujukin back then require a 5th level detoxifying pill? Isn't there one in the Den Pavilion? Yuan asked, asking her for pills at the Den Pavilion's territory. What was this person planning? Yuan frowned unconsciously. Rong Xiu sighed and shook his head, it's not useful. Yuan was a little surprised at Rong Xiu's change, why he had become so melancholy. She asked, so you came to me specifically? Rong Xiu nodded, yes, it's really not easy to find you. Rong Xiu smiled bitterly. He also regretted what he had done back then. Now that he was asking for help from Wan'er, he would accept whatever Wan'er said. Yuan raised her eyes and looked at the cloaked man. Is she begging for this person? She is an alchemist. There is an unpleasant smell about this person, but isn't this the cloaked figure who controls the puppet? You asked me to save him, why? How could Rongxiu, an evil cultivator, hook up with such a person? He still has the nerve to come to her and ask for antidote pills. Off. Mother, okay, let's go. Dabeo came out at this time and took Yuan's hand. He glanced at the person in the wheelchair and Rongxiu, and then at Yuan. Let's go. Yuan took her two sons and walked out of the store. Rongxiu touched his face so that his face could not be seen clearly, and then followed Yuan, mother and son out of the Den Pavilion. Before he came in, he showed his true face, so that Yuan could see him at a glance. When he came out of Den Pavilion, no one inside seemed to remember seeing him. Wan'er, please listen to me. Rongxiu pushed the wheelchair to follow. Yuan stopped, turned around and led Liangbao into a tea house. Rongxiu quickly followed. Yuan asked for a private room, and the mother and son sat down. Rongxiu came in and parked the wheelchair, and he sat next to the wheelchair. Please say. Why? Rongxiu smiled bitterly in his heart. He looked at Yuan and said, I think Wan'er knows who this is, right? Heh, you still want me to give him the detoxification pill? If I don't kill him with one sword, I already have a bad temper, Yuan said sarcastically. Rongxiu was not angry after hearing this. He knew in his heart how many monks had died that year, and his father indeed deserved to die. But that was his biological father. As a son, it was impossible to kill him. He was also a victim and suffered from a strange poison. How could he bear to watch his father being tortured? Over the years, my father has known that he has committed serious sins, but he is unwilling to detoxify and only thinks about the rest of his life. If the poison is not detoxified, my father will live for at least a year. After the poison is detoxified, he will live for at least several hundred years. If you encounter an opportunity, it is not impossible to ascend to the spiritual world. So he was forced to help his father find detoxifying pills, but the detoxifying pills in Den Pavilion were of little use. Only then did he remember that Yuan detoxified Mujukin's poison. The poison required a 5th level detoxifying pill. Thinking that there was a life space in her body, and the elixir she planted was different from the elixirs outside, maybe the detoxifying pill refined by Wan'er could be useful, so he went to great lengths to find it. Rongxiu sighed again and said, Wan'er, I apologize to you for the wrong things I did back then, but he is my biological father, and I can't just ignore him. Your father? Yuan was a little confused, and she looked at Rongxiu in confusion. Isn't Rongxiu from the wrong clan? He is still the son of the patriarch, and he has a biological father like this. A big family is like that. When there are more people, there are more things to do, and even more dirty things. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 422. Chapter 422. The two great treasures build the foundation. Rongxiu nodded. There was nothing hard to say about this matter in front of Wan'er. By telling the truth of the matter, he also told Wan'er that he would never kidnap her or hurt her again. After all, his mother had gone through something like this back then, and even committed suicide after giving birth to him. He doesn't want to see something like this happen again, let alone do it himself. He patted Xiao Zi's shoulder lightly and said, "Yes, back then my mother was kidnapped by clan chief Rong, and then my father was knocked off the Wuyuan cliff. She survived the disaster but was poisoned and had to practice that harmful technique. When the puppets besieged Chaoyang City, my father also avenged my mother. It was only later that I found out that my biological father was him. So, Wan'er, I will never do anything to harm you in this life." Rong Xiu finished speaking and looked at the two treasures next to Yuan. The two treasures looked at him now with unkind eyes. He didn't want such a tragedy to happen again in the future. Yuan rubbed Liang Bao's head, not expecting such a thing to happen. She had no sympathy for Rong Xiu, but he would not come out to cause trouble again, which reassured her a lot. She doesn't want her happy family to be ruined. "Okay, but remember what you said today. If you do anything to hurt our family again, you know I have the ability to kill you." After saying that, she threw a jade vase on the table, stood up, picked up the two treasures, and went out. Rong Xiu nodded and closed his eyes, feeling so miserable. I think Rong Nantian was in the same mood back then. At least he had it. What about him? Rong Xiu grabbed the jade bottle and it appeared in his hand. "Xiu'er, why are you doing this?" Xiao Zi also sighed deeply. He couldn't see that his son liked the woman who had a son. Rong Xiu patted Xiao Zi on the back. "Dad, my son will not do anything to hurt her. Alas. This is your love disaster, just get over it." Xiao Zi also held his son's hand. Rong Xiu didn't say a word, pushed Xiao Zi out of the tea house, found an inn, and immediately asked Xiao Zi to take the detoxification pill. An hour later, Xiao Zi opened his cloak. A face similar to Rong Xiu's appeared. "Dad, it's really solved." Rong Xiu was overjoyed. He looked at Xiao Zi's face carefully. With a knife-like face, sharp eyebrows and starry eyes, a high bridge of nose, and thin lips, his lips were very much like his father's lips. His father's face is more mature than his, and he is handsome but not resolute. Rong Xiu's eyes darkened. If his mother had not died and she was a perfect match for her father, their family would be happy. Thinking of Rong Nantian, Rong Xiu felt very complicated. He didn't know whether what he did was right or whether he was worthy of his mother. Rong Nantian fell off Wuyuan cliff but did not die. He looked for him, rescued him, and sent him back to the Rong clan. What he wanted to do was to repay Rong Nantian for his kindness in raising him, and also to put an end to the Rong clan. From now on, the Rong clan is the Rong clan and he is him. The word love is very harmful to people. Rong Xiu is distressed. He plans to practice the path of ruthlessness. Xiao Zi smiled and said, "Now that Dad is well, let's find a place to live in seclusion." How could he not have seen his son's bitter face just now? Both father and son are poor people. They find a place to live in seclusion. Over time, it will fade away. If they ascend to the spiritual world, all the things in this world will disappear. Okay, Rong Xiu nodded heavily. How can we really let go when we say let go? When I see someone, all the longings in my heart come out again. It's better to live in seclusion. Yuan and her son left the tea house and went straight to the next city. She really didn't want to meet Rong Xiu again. In the days that followed, the mother and son returned to their former self. The days passed by in a hurry, and 3 years passed quietly. Deep in the mountains, Yuan and Erbao were guarding the Dabao in the formation. They had agreed to return to the clan to build the foundation. However, Dabao's cultivation could no longer be suppressed, so they had no choice but to build the foundation. "Mother, when my eldest brother builds the foundation, I will also build the foundation," Erbao said. "Okay," Yuan said, holding Erbao's arm. Liang Bao has grown very tall in the past 3 years, more than 5 feet tall, which is about 1.8 meters tall in meters. With her height of about 6 meters, she looks like a little bird in front of her son. The childlike look on Liang Bao's face has faded a lot, although they are still a little green. It does not affect their beauty. They are almost the same as when she first saw Mujukan, who was astonishing. Dabao built the foundation very quickly, and it was a matter of course, and there was no need to survive any thunderstorms. After building the foundation, Yuan accepted him into the space to consolidate his cultivation. The next thing is the second treasure. 6 months later, Yuan, mother and son appeared in Juyo City. More than 6 years have passed, and Juyo City remains unchanged as it was then. At the door of the Mu clan, a handsome man in a green shirt was searching for something in Juyo City. When the three figures appeared in his consciousness, the corners of his mouth raised, and he went down the mountain in a flash. From a distance, Yuan saw the tall figure at the mountain gate. She left her son behind and rushed towards him. Mujukan stretched out his arms and waited for someone to throw himself into his arms. Yuan didn't care. She threw herself into Mujukan's arms and hugged him tightly. Mujukan patted her back gently and let her hold him. "Dad," Liang Bao came over naturally and saluted him. Okay, we've laid the foundation." Mujukan freed up a hand to pat his son. The couple stood there for a while, too lazy to watch their mother act coquettishly, so they left their parents and went up the mountain. "How long can I hug her without fear of being laughed at?" Mujukan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Waner went out to cling to others. Yuan raised her head and shook her head. He, let's go back and let you hug her for a long time." Mujukan pinched her face and said dotingly. Yuan nodded and took Mujukan's hand back to the mountain. In the Mu mansion, Mr. Mu's ha 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 sound could be heard in the distance. Yuan curled her lips and decided not to disturb them, and returned to their courtyard with Mujukan. After returning, the two immediately entered the space to relieve the pain of missing each other for so many years. Outside, when Uncle Mu heard that his grandson was back, he rushed to his study and held his grandson's hand but refused to let go. His grandson is so outstanding that Uncle Mu couldn't stop laughing. In return for Mr. Mu's blank stare, he has not even gotten close enough to his great-grandson. Ahem, cough, boss, go down. Liang Bao smiled, left 2 storage bags for Mr. Mu and followed him back to their yard. "Oh, these are my 2 grandsons." Mrsu ran out happily. She didn't look like an old lady over 100 years old at all, but more like a 20-year-old girl who saw a beautiful man. Tisk, Grandma's good grandson looks just as good as your father back in the day." Mrsu walked around the 2 treasures several times, squeezing them here and there, looking like she couldn't put them down. "Grandpa, Grandma, let's go in." Dabao spoke first. Oh, hurry up, Grandma has forgotten." Mrsu slapped her forehead. Liang Bao shook his head, one supported his grandpa and the other helped his grandma enter the house. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 423. Chapter 423. Mrs. Muer's thoughts. My dear grandson, can you tell Grandma how it is outside? Where is your mother? Liang Bao smiled and said, Daddy took me back. This brat didn't even say to come and see me, an old woman first. Look at what you, old woman, are saying. It's up to you to care if your son is happy. Uncle Mu rolled his eyes at her, feeling jealous of his son. Yes, old lady, I also miss my daughter-in-law, Mrsu said with a smile. She didn't see her daughter-in-law, but her 2 good grandchildren were here, so she took the 2 babies and told her a lot of things outside. An hour later, Mrsu saw that it was noon, so she asked Liang Bao to sit with her grandfather for a while she was busy making food. They are used to eating and drinking every day. Even if they can go out into the valley, MRSU can't change this habit. Liang Bao must have been chatting with his grandfather about daily life. They have been away for more than 6 years, and they also want to know what is going on at home now. In the space, Yu and Wan struggled a lot before falling asleep. When she woke up, she found that Mu Jukan had already gotten up. She rubbed her waist and put on her clothes. She saw Mu Jukan practicing his sword. She stood and watched for a while before Mu Jukan put away his sword and came over. "Why don't you sleep more?" Mu Jukan put away his sword and kissed her on the lips. "That's it, let's go and see Grandpa." Dad and Mom Yuan kissed him back. "Okay, the clan has developed well in the past few years. By the way, the third and fourth elders of my second uncle's family have all gotten married, so you have to prepare some wedding gifts." "Oh, so fast, where is your nephew?" She remembered that the child was not young anymore. Mu Jukan put away his sword, sat next to her, held her in his arms, plucked her hair with one hand, and smelled it. For some reason, he especially liked the fragrance on her body. Changlin is not that fast. He is also in the late stage of foundation building and just wants to practice. Now Chang'e can practice. This child is very grateful to you. He is also practicing diligently. Let's go and see her later. That child loved to cling to him when he was a child. If he couldn't cultivate, he would grow old, sick, and die like ordinary people. It would make me feel uncomfortable just thinking about it. Fortunately, Wanner has the spirit washing flower, which allows her to wash out the spiritual roots. Although it is 5 spiritual roots, it is better than nothing. The clan has no shortage of resources and is not worried that her journey to immortality will not be long. Yuan nodded after hearing this, and she and Mu Jukan spent a while preparing gifts. The 2 new daughters-in-law have prepared elixirs and spiritual weapons suitable for her. As for the Jinjin Elixir clan, they will have to exchange it in the clan based on their future contributions. She didn't even give her 2 treasures, let alone her cousin-in-law. Mu Changlin and Mu Chang'e are the same ones. She has good things that they can't use now. After getting ready, Yuan went to visit Mr. Mu and his wife before going to the second room. The people of the Mu family are a bit more homogeneous than the Yu family. Apart from the old man, there are only 2 people in the house, Uncle Mu and Mr. Mu. The 2 of them came to the second room courtyard, and the person who opened the door was a handyman. "Second master, second madam, please come in." Hong Kong Yuluo took them both into the living room. "Is it the second brother and the second sister-in-law who are here?" A female nun wearing a green robe came in from the outside. She was supported by a little maid, combing her hair. She was petite, with a delicate appearance and a slightly bulging abdomen. "Haha, I wonder if she is the 3rd younger sister or the 4th younger sister," Yuan greeted her with a smile. She really didn't recognize her, and no one introduced her. Mainly because Mu Jukan had never seen her before. The woman's eyes glanced at Mu Jukan inadvertently, and a look of admiration flashed through her eyes. She entered the room with a smile, lightly blessed Yuan and the other 2, and said, "Zhang Shui has met the second brother and the second sister-in-law." "Oh, it's the 3rd younger brother and sister. Don't be polite as you are pregnant." "3rd younger brother and sister, please don't be offended by what I just said was rude. I just came back and your second brother just came out of seclusion." Yuan quickly helped her up. Eyes condensed, Zhang Shui just saw the in Mu Jukan's eyes and she didn't ignore it. It was true that a married woman still yearned for her man. There was Mu Xiu before, and here comes Zhang Shui. Does this woman with snow in her name conflict with her? "Hey, it's Wanner here." At this time, Mrs. Muer was led into the living room by a woman wearing a smoke-colored robe. "Yes, second aunt," Yuan and Mu Jukan shouted at the same time. "Sit down, when did you come back?" Mrsmuer sat at the top and asked with a smile. Came back yesterday. Oh, I didn't notify you when your third and fourth brothers got married, just because I was afraid of delaying your experience. It's okay. Yuan took out 2 storage bags and put them on the table and said, Second aunt, this is a meeting gift for the third and fourth younger siblings. It can also be regarded as a complimentary gift. Haha, Schwer, Chewer, why don't you thank your second sister-in-law quickly? Mrsmuer pushed the smoky woman next to her, who didn't know that this nephew's wife's things are good. Zhang Shui and Gu Qiu's Huan came to Yuan, thanked her, and collected the storage bags. Yuan smiled and glanced at Gu Qiu. She was a beautiful woman, gentle, with the demeanor of a young lady from an aristocratic family. I guess she is a girl from a cultivating family who is more pleasing to the eye than Zhang Shui. Waner, did you go to the trading house when you came back? I heard that business in the trading house is good now, and branches have been opened in several big cities. Mrsmuer looked at Yuan Xiang and asked. Yuan shook her head. Didn't this second aunt ask questions knowingly? She just came back yesterday, how could she be so fast? She narrowed her eyes. Could this second aunt have some idea? Oh, that's it. If you want to go someday, ask your 2 younger siblings to follow you. They have never been there either. Yuan smiled and said, Okay, but I may not go in the near future and have to retreat. If my 2 siblings want to go, they can go by themselves. They are our own business, so they can go at any time. Haha, that's right. Waner, let's have a light meal at the second aunt's house for lunch. Your third brother and sister's father happens to live in the house, and we all know each other. Yuan frowned. The second aunt said a lot, and she was paving the way for the father of the third brother and sister. He wanted to join a trading company, but the old man refused to let him in. Was he looking for her? She is easy to talk to. Second aunt, my parents have prepared it for another day, Mujukan said quickly. Mrsmuer glanced at Mujukan's expressionless face and said with a smile, Okay, let's do it next time. Then let's go over first. Yuan stood up, said goodbye to Mrsmu and then left the second room. Bang, as soon as the 2 of them left the hospital, Mrsmuer slapped her hand on the table. Mom, don't be angry, Gu Qiu frowned and quickly comforted her. Huh? Don't you be angry? Are you going to earn your own cultivation resources in the future? Mrsmuer angrily glared at this little daughter-in-law, who was useless and wouldn't fight for anything. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 424. Chapter 424 Black Egg Poisoning. Zhang Shui rolled her eyes. She stood up and came behind Mrsmuer. She squeezed Gu Qiu away inadvertently. She put her hands on Mrsmuer's shoulders and kneaded them gently. She said, Mom, please calm down. My daughter-in-law and father, the matter is not urgent and cannot affect the relationship with the uncle's family. After all, the second brother and the second sister-in-law are both nascent soul monks, and we can't afford to offend him. We'd better practice harder, otherwise Grandpa. Let the mother-in-law figure out the rest. Zhang Shui curled her lips. She didn't believe that she couldn't arouse her mother-in-law's anger. She just wanted to make her mother-in-law think that the old man was partial, so her mother-in-law would fight and think of a way. How could a big Mu tribe get some spiritual stones back? Sure enough, Mrsmuer's face turned pale after hearing Zhang Shui's words. The sons all say that the old man is partial and does not let the second wife get involved in anything. He gets nothing but gets the small head, while the eldest house gets the big head. We can't go on like this. In the future, what will so many of them do to practice and become strong? Gu Qiu listened to the conversation between her stepmother-in-law and daughter-in-law. She sighed secretly and left with an excuse. Useless stuff, Mrsmuer spat at Gu Qiu's back. When Gu Qiu heard this, she felt very complicated. Earlier, her mother-in-law had no spiritual roots. The second sister-in-law gave her the precious spirit washing flower and drank it. She didn't know how to be grateful, but she was still scheming behind her back. Which monk's cultivation resources are not made by yourself, and how can he sit at home and enjoy it? It is not satisfied. Gu Qiu thought of her husband again, and she regretted it. There is no comparison between people with second-bedroom apartments and those with larger apartments. Yuan and Mujukan went back to the courtyard directly. Why did second aunt become like this? You have a big appetite, Mujukan patted her shoulder. You should pay attention to Zhang Shui from now on, don't be like Mixuo, Yuan reminded her. How is that possible? Mujukan was surprised. Yuan rolled her eyes at him. This person was still like that. She never paid attention to the eyes that fell on him, only the eyes that fell on her. It's up to you. Anyway, I'm reminding you. If anything happens in the future, I won't be able to forgive you. Yuan stabbed him the forehead. One look at Zhang Shui showed that he was restless and had many tricks behind his back. How could he guard against thieves every day? If you don't warn this guy, you won't even know what he's doing. Yes, Waner, don't worry. My husband will pay attention in the future. They say that your women's intuition is very accurate, and I believe it. Mujukan hugged her and held her in his arms, as if he was afraid that she would run away. You go and find out about Zhang Shui's father from Grandpa. I'm going to see Chang Lin and Chang Ji later, and I'm going to see my mother, eldest brother, and uncle. Yuan pushed him away and said. Just wait for me and I'll come as soon as I go. Yuan nodded and said, okay then. Mujukan came back soon and took the two treasures directly to Mu Yunchen's yard. Mu Yunchen is not here, nor is his sister-in-law Yang, and the two children are also in retreat. Yuan left the things behind and flew directly to the Yu clan's yard. Huh? It's Waner. Mrs. Feng happened to be in the yard and saw the family of four, shouting in surprise. Yes, mother. Yuan stepped forward and took Feng's hand. Mujukan stepped forward, mother. Liang Bao also stepped forward and shouted, hello, grandma. Hey, it's all good, it's all good. Both babies have grown so tall and good looking, ha ha ha. Grandma is amazed by you. Ms. Feng threw away Yuan and grabbed one with one hand, looking up and down. Two treasures. Okay, I'm not ashamed to be my grandma's grandson. Go find your uncle quickly. Okay, Grandma. Liang Bao was embarrassed by Mrs. Feng. Yuan shook her head. Her mother was still so cute. Mom, I'm going to find my elder brother. You and Waner have a nice chat. Mujukan quickly left. Okay, you go. Feng smiled and took Yuan's hand and walked to her yard. Mom, where is my sister-in-law? When Mrs. Feng mentioned Mrs. Li, she smiled and said, you don't know, your sister-in-law is pregnant with twins, a boy and a girl. Your eldest brother is as cute as an eyeball. Yuan was also happy after hearing this. Her feelings were inherited from the Feng family, and she gave birth to twins throughout her life. Haha, that's great, mother. What will Xiaoliu give birth to? Mrs. Feng, Xiaolu has given birth to a boy. He's so skinny that I can't tell you. Do you want to go and have a look? Okay, Yuan was also happy, pulling Feng and running towards Xiaoliu courtyard. Haitan, come down here quickly. Before anyone arrived, Xiaoliu's roar was heard. Xiaolu, what are you doing with Haidan? He's still a child when you're yelling like that. Feng Shi opened the door in a panic and yelled. Well, both of them are yelling. The older one is yelling at the older one, and the older one is yelling at the younger one. Mom, look at this kid, The fourth sister is here. Xiaoliu didn't care about the child anymore, but she ran over like a child. You are already a mother, and you still act like a child. Yuan poked her forehead. Auntie Hug, a little boy over 4 years old and dark-colored, opened his arms and ran towards Yuan. Yuan twitched her mouth. She was really a black egg. Haitan, be good, my aunt will hold you. Yuan picked him up. This child had delicate features and dark skin. Yuan frowned. This child was not born black. He was abnormally dark. Xiao Lu, the black color of the black egg is abnormal. What's abnormal? Feng Shi and Xiaoliu asked at the same time. Didn't you notice that this child's skin is unusually dark? Both of them looked at Yuan blankly. Yuan shook her head. This adult is really careless. Xiao Lu hugged He Dan and looked at it carefully. She asked Yuan nervously, "Fourth sister, what did you see? Maybe he was poisoned. You don't know the poison in the world of immortality. I'll take a look later and help him detoxify." "Ah. Okay, fourth sister, please hurry up." Xiaoliu was really anxious now. "Don't worry, this poison is life-threatening. It will at most affect your future cultivation, but I have the spirit cleansing flower, so it won't have much of an impact." Feng frowned and asked, "Xiao Lu, how could a black egg be poisoned if it's fine? He wasn't black when he was born." When Xiao Lu heard this, he realized that He Dan's skin had slowly started to turn darker since he was 3 months old. He thought it was because he ran outside every day and it had no impact on him, so he didn't pay attention to it. Xiao Liu's originally chaotic mind calmed down now. The child was still young at that time and could not have been poisoned by himself. She herself didn't go out at that time and had never even been to the market. Where did the poison come from? Is it possible? Xiao Lu was furious. Yuan frowned. "Xiao Lu, do you know what's going on? Does she know what the poison is?" "It was caused by accidentally eating a poison called black yin grass. It is said that it will make people's skin black without harming their body, but it will damage their spiritual roots. Over time, the spiritual roots will be completely eaten away." Who is this person so sinister? End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 425. Chapter 425 Yang Xiner. Fortunately, she discovered it. If she had been in confinement for 10 or 8 years before she discovered it, she would have shorted her child's path to immortality. Xiao Lu shook his head. "Not sure yet, sister, you help He Dan detoxify first, and I'll go find the rocks." "Stone." Ms. Feng nodded towards her. Yuan looked at Xiaoliu's angry back. "What big things have happened in the past few years?" "Mom, then I will hold the black egg to detoxify." "Okay, you go ahead." Ms. Feng's face looked a little bad at this time. How could she be so cruel to such a good little grandson? Yuan carried Haidan into the space and let him play for a while she went into the alchemy room to refine the antidote pill again. Haidan has not cultivated, and his body cannot bear the elixir with strong spiritual power, so he can only take half of the elixir. Just take a few more pills and he will be fine. An hour later, Yuan fed Haidan one and carefully observed the effect of the elixir. Sure enough, after taking the elixir, black and yellow substances leached out from the whole body of the black egg. "Auntie, it stinks so much," Haidan said with an embarrassed face as he fanned his nose with his chubby hand. Yuan laughed. After a few cleaning operations, Haidan could no longer smell the smell. Looking again, Haidan's face turned a lot whiter. "This is a beautiful child, like a piece of black carbon." Yuan pinched Haidan's chubby face. Hey. Haidan smiled at Yuan. Yuan kissed him on the face before carrying him out of the room. "Huh, are you all here so soon?" As soon as Yuan went out, Yu Heiran and his brothers, Mujukan and his son, and Shitu were all standing outside, but their expressions were not good. Haidan, mother's baby. Xiao Lu hugged Haidan and cried bitterly. "Don't cry, it will scare your son." Shitu stepped forward and patted Xiaoliu on the back. "You have to worry about it? If you hadn't brought a back, Would my black have been poisoned? Xiao Lu threw the stone away and stared at it like a fierce tigress. Shitu's face darkened and he said nothing. What's going on? Yuan said in a bad tone. Xiao Lu wiped away her tears, stuffed the black egg into Yu Heiren's arms, pulled the stone and stood in front of Yuan, angrily saying, "Give it to my sister yourself, your master will make it clear." Yuan looked at the stone with her cold eyes. Shitu opened his mouth and said, "Master, it was my fault that I harmed Heidan. I thought that the female cultivator looked too much like Xiner, so I brought her back. Master and disciple had no other intention, just to see her pity, just like Xiner back then." After Shitu finished speaking, he looked at Yuan sincerely. "Where is that person?" "In a business." "Bring her back to see me." Yuan believed that Shitu was not lying. Shitu's heartbeat did not change and his eyes were clear. The problem should be with the female nun. She wants to see what kind of terrible person poisoned the black egg in full view of the public. People who don't know about this poison really think that the child has grown black, and they don't think about poisoning. "Okay," Shitu nodded without hesitation. "Xiao Ser, we are all responsible for this matter." The female nun looks wen and quiet. She never shows off her appearance, like a transparent person, Yu Heiren said with a serious face. Yuan raised her eyebrows and saw that everyone present was her own. She said, "Brother, you are the leader of the clan. There is no need to let irrelevant people into the clan. There is a place for disciples to live outside. This backyard we still need to strengthen our defenses. The methods of monks are different from those of ordinary people, so we should learn from them." Yu Heiren nodded. "Xiao Ser is right, eldest brother will implement it." Half an hour later, Shitu came back with a female cultivator who looked to be 17 or 18 years old. She was at the 11th level of Qi training. She was wearing a light blue robe. She was about 1.6 meters tall and had clear curves. Her appearance was indeed about 5 points like that of Xiner. Picture. Everyone saw that Yuan had something to ask, so they all retreated. "Raise your head." Yuan sat on the stool, tapping the table with her fingers. The female cultivator raised her head and looked at Yuan, with no trace of fear or panic in her eyes. Yuan praised her for her good concentration. "May I have your name?" Junior Yang Xiner has met the senior, she even gave him a salute. Yang Xiner, even the name was the same, and Yuan suspected that this Xiner was the other Xiner. No wonder Shitu was tempted to hide. "Do you know why I asked the stone to bring you back?" Yang Xiner shook her head. "Why did you lay Heian grass for Haidan? Don't say you don't know him, you are an alchemist, and don't lie in front of me," Yuan said quietly. Yang Xiner's calm face flashed with a hint of ferocity. After a long while, she raised her head and looked directly at Yuan and said, "Brother Shitu is mine, I know him first." "You met him first? Are you Xiner from the Great Yan Kingdom?" Yuan felt funny in her heart. When it comes to relationships, it's always on a first come, first served basis. Yang Xiner smiled strangely. "What do you think?" Yuan shook her head. "I don't think she is my disciple. I am very familiar with her." "You are not her? If so, then I don't know who took her away." Yang Xiner laughed loudly. "Senior is really smart, but your disciple was indeed taken away from me. Are you so cruel that you want to kill me? Madman, you still don't understand me. There are only people in this world that I don't want to kill, and there are no people who dare to kill." Yuan shook her head, waved her hand, and the door opened, and Mujukan, Yu Heiren, and Shitu all came in. "Did you hear that?" Yuan asked lightly. Stone went crazy and punched Yang Xiner in the face. Why do you want to save Xiner? She is so pitiful and well behaved." "Why not?" "Because I am her sister, and her parents prepared it for me when they took her back. Yang Xiner wiped the blood on her face and said proudly. Everyone was shocked. Master, he knelt down in front of Yuan with a plop of stones. Get up, Master has no objection to how you want to deal with her. Yuan waved her hand, and a spiritual power lifted him up. Fourth sister, I'm going to kill her. Xiao Lu angrily summoned a flying sword and pointed it at Yang Zener. Yuan also nodded towards Xiaoliu. His soul was gone. What's the use of holding on to Xiner's body? He was still so vicious. Stone also wants revenge, so it's up to them both. You can't kill me. Yang Xiner panicked when she saw that they really wanted to kill her and completely ignored Nian Xiner. Why? Shitu asked through gritted teeth. Because it was Xiner who asked me to come to you, Yang Xiner said in a panic. What the hell, why didn't you tell me when you were here? Who would believe it if you tell me now? Shitu struck with a fierce palm, and Xiaoliu slashed Yang Xiner's hands with a sword at the same time. Ah! Yang Xiner screamed. You can't kill me, no. Yang Xiner ran around in the yard and screamed, holding her broken arm. You should know that this is what happened. Even if you kill her, she won't come. She should have revealed her identity as soon as she arrived. Yang Xiner was really scared. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 426. Chapter 426. The Queen of Their Family. While Yang Xiner was still shouting and yelling in the yard, other people's expressions changed when they saw this scene. Shitu's palm was of Jin Dankai's strength. Didn't it hurt her? Instead, it was Xiaoliu who hurt her. Armor, everyone thought of it. Yang Xiner, a female cultivator in the Qi training stage and possessing magic weapon level armor, should not be underestimated. If she is not eliminated, many troubles will arise in the future. Yuan winked at Shitu, who nodded. After a set of soul thorns were sent out, Yang Xiner died completely. Stone stepped forward and pulled out her storage bag and poured out all the contents. He searched inside for a while, but found that there was nothing for Xiner. Pack it up. By the way, take one of Haidan's pills every day. I have already taken today's pill. Just take it for 7 days. Also, the name Haidan is not nice. Let's change it after that. Yuan putting the elixir bottle in Xiaoliu's hand, he nodded to the others and left Xiaoliu's yard. Yuan originally wanted to visit the Li family, but what happened today made her feel bad, so the family of 4 returned to the Mu clan. Waner, don't be sad, Mujukan hugged her. Yes, mother, death is like a lamp going out, don't think about it. Urbeo also held her arm to comfort her. Well, mom is not sad. If Xiner had left with us back then, where would he be today? I guess your uncle wouldn't be a stone anymore. Yuan leaned against Mujukan's arms for a while, and then leaned against Urbeo's for a while. In his arms, he also pulled Dabeo over to lean against him. Father and son were allowed to do whatever she wanted, but who made her the queen of their family? Urbeo, that's because she doesn't have that blessing. Yeah, that's right, let's go back to sleep. Yuan vented for a while, feeling less sad. Xiner is a strong girl, but it's a pity that she lived among the people and became a beggar. It must be related to her spiritual roots. It's a pity that she did not escape the fate of being taken away from her in the end. Yuan sighed deeply in her heart. Mother, good night. The 2 treasures stepped back. Mujukan then picked her up and entered the bedroom, and the 2 hugged each other until dawn. Do you want to retreat? Yuan shook her head, and she nuzzled in his arms. Now her heart couldn't calm down, and seclusion was useless. Xiner's incident still affected her. Well, Grandpa and Dad are going to retreat during this time, we can manage the affairs of the clan. Second uncle won't make any noise. What's the use of making noise? If you make more noise, send him out. Then, don't let their family get involved in the business. I know, you think your husband is stupid. Stupid or not, I'm still your second uncle, so I'm afraid you won't be able to bear it. Their family is a troublemaker. I couldn't tell it before. Once it becomes profitable, they all lose their composure. But you can let Liang Bao go to the business house for some training. Okay, they have built a foundation, and they are not 20 years old. I am not worried about going out to experience it. It is suitable to put them in a trading company. The couple talked for a long time before they got up, and Mujukan went to the clan to take over the affairs of the clan. Yuan spends her time in the space taking care of elixirs, raising spiritual pets, and refining elixirs and drawing talismans. She also wanted the elixirs in the trading house to be the same as the elixir pavilion, selling first level to fifth level elixirs. This can improve the reputation of the commercial bank and allow the commercial bank to accelerate its development. After discussing with Yu Heiran, he started to operate. A month passed by, and sure enough, the supply of the elixirs she and Dabao refined was in short supply in the business, and for a while the elixirs could not be supplied. The main reason is that the magic medicine is not enough. Mujukan had to buy elixirs in various major markets before he gradually recovered and got back on track. On this day, Yuan went to the Yu clan to visit the Li family. When she came back, she heard Mujukan and Muiryi arguing in the study. Yuan knocked on the door and pushed open the door. What are you arguing about? I heard it outside. Second Master Mu threw away the account book in his hand and said angrily, I have to ask your husband about this. Yuan frowned, Second uncle, what's wrong with my husband? Are you coming here to make a noise? Snored. Mujukan waved his hand towards Yuan and took the account book from the second Master Mu's hand to her. Yuan took it and looked at it. This was the clan's account book. There were several large transactions on it that were unclear. She understood it all at once. Master Mu is in charge of the clan's business. If you need spiritual stones, you can go to the accounting office to get them. If you buy something, please report it yourself. I don't know how much benefit I gained from this. There are not many people in the clan, and Mu Yunshan is in charge of the counting house. The second Master Mu will pay whatever he wants. Mu Yunshan, a fool, thought that Mr. Mu would not do anything to enrich himself, so he never investigated. During this period, Mujukan took over the affairs of the clan, so he took the account book back and looked at it. This one was from the past few months, and he had not read through the ones from the past few years. Mujukan hasn't settled the score with him yet, but he's okay, yet he shamelessly comes to make trouble. Yuan said sternly, Second uncle, you still want to make trouble for Mujukan over this matter. Why are you dissatisfied with today's day? Satisfied? Is your eldest brother satisfied? Second Master Mu glanced sideways at Yuan. Yuan chuckled, Second uncle, of course we are satisfied with spending the spiritual stones we have earned ourselves. Over the years, your family has gone out to earn a piece of spiritual stone and brought it back to us to spend. Or have you made any contribution to the family? Second, I think your second room is at a disadvantage, so tomorrow I will take the people from the first room to open another door. Second Master Mu pointed at Yuan, but did not say any more. Yuan glared at him. Is this man really a master after being the second Master Mu for several years? Her eyes turned sharp, what? Do you think I don't dare? Don't forget who is the boss in this world of cultivating immortals. Don't use the tricks of mortals in the clan, and it's even harder to use in front of me. Go back, tell Zhang Shui and your two sons, don't come in front of me to make trouble. By the way, I can make second aunt practice but also make her unable to practice. Go back, second uncle, you can swallow the spiritual stones from the clan. Keep your claws away from me from now on. Second Uncle Mew felt excited, glanced at Mujukin and slammed the door. Why are you arguing with this kind of person? Just suppress him with force. Yuan pinched Mujukin's dark face. Mujukin grabbed her, held her head in his big palm and kissed her. He wanted to vent his anger, he had just been holding in a belly of anger. Second Uncle Mew angrily returned to the second room and locked himself in the study. He has been thinking about what Yuan said in his mind. It is true that their family relies on Yuan for their livelihood. If the big house is really separated, what else will be left for them to have a second house? With their current strength, they can live a comfortable life in the mortal world, but after returning, they will not be able to advance without the cultivation resources, and they will only be a few years older than ordinary people. How can they have a lifespan of more than 1,000 years like Yuan and others? Who wants to die early if he can live a long life? King KKK, at this moment, there was a knock on the door outside. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 427. Chapter 427 The Stirring Stick. Come in. The second Master Mew saw the eldest son and his wife coming in. As soon as he saw them, the second Master Mew became very angry. Thinking of what Yuan said, he became even more angry with his son. So many years have passed, and I have never earned a spiritual stone in a decent way, and my cultivation is still in the late stage of foundation building. Sure enough, when I looked back at the second bedroom and the big bedroom, I saw that the second bedroom was really unbearable. What are you doing here? Second Master Mew asked displeasedly. Musichin asked, Dad, we just want to ask you, have you spoken to your second brother and second sister-in-law? No, don't think about it anymore. You have the ability to earn spiritual stone flowers by yourself, so don't bother me. Second Master Mew waved his hand impatiently. Musichin frowned and pulled Zhang Shui out of Mu Eryi's study. Husband, what does Dad mean? Zhang Shui asked as soon as he came out. Musichin squinted at her, can't you, a smart person like you, hear this? He flicked his sleeves and walked away alone, leaving Zhang Shui standing there with a confused look on his face. Zhang Shui turned around and stared at Mr. Mew's study with sinister eyes. I cursed hard in my heart, useless old thing. Looks like I'll have to show off in front of my mother-in-law tomorrow, that idiot will be much easier to manipulate. Zhang Shui touched her belly, looked at Mu Mingchen's yard, and then returned to the yard. The next day, as soon as Yuan got up, Mrsu came over in a hurry. Mom, why are you here? Mrsu entered the room and sat down, looking worried. Mom, what's wrong with you? Yuan asked again when she saw that she didn't say anything. Mrsu was stunned for a moment before looking up at Yuan. She asked, Waner, did Chenner have a quarrel with your second uncle yesterday? Yuan nodded, Mom, it's not a big deal, why are you worried about this? Mrsu shook her head and frowned, last night, my mother was bored. She got up and walked in the yard. She heard someone behind the yard. She went over quietly and heard what Zhang and his father were saying. She only listened. When they wanted to grab something, they spoke in a low voice, but I didn't dare to use my spiritual sense to listen, for fear that they would find out. I thought it was definitely not a good thing, so I came over to tell you. Yuan also frowned. Zhang Shui was really restless and was afraid that something would happen again. She said, that's it? Mom, don't worry. I'll tell Mujukin later. Okay, tell him quickly, Mrsu warned worriedly and left quickly. After Mrsu left, Yuan thought about the word rob in her mind, rob for what? Yuan thought to herself, Why didn't Zhang Shui and his son use the formation to isolate the matter when they talked about it in the middle of the night? And let your mother hear it? What are their intentions? Looking at MRSU's expression just now, she must have heard more than this. Is there anything else that is hard to say? Yuan thought about it and decided to use her spiritual sense to check it out at night. Mujukan and his son were not at home during the day. She was bored by herself, so she simply returned to the space. When Mujukan came back in the evening, Yuan told him what MRSU said during the day. Mujukan smiled and joked, "You don't want to rob the trading company, do you?" Yuan, that's impossible. Let's listen to it today. You can just listen to Zhang Shui alone. Okay, jealous jar. Why are you jealous? Mujukan pushed her down on the bed, looked directly at her with slightly narrowed eyes, and his warm breath sprayed all over Yuan's face. Yuan looked at the monster's face at close range. Her heart trembled, her face turned red, and she uttered two words, "Monster." Mujukan curled his lips and smiled. The temptation was successful. He lowered his head and kissed Yuan's red lips. Long time. The two of them turned over and sat cross-legged on the bed before releasing their consciousness. Yuan's consciousness passed through the formation in the second room's courtyard and looked for Zhang Shui's small courtyard. The formation was also activated in their courtyard, and Yuan still got into the formation and looked for their bedroom. When they arrived outside their room, Yuan did not go forward and only listened outside. After a rustling sound inside, there was a suppressed sound. Yuan quickly stepped away with her consciousness. Who is this person? Zhang Shui is pregnant, why is she still like this? Yuan was really speechless. She had to use her consciousness to find Zhang Shui's father. Uncle Mu's yard is next to that of Mr. Mu. MRSU said that she heard Zhang Shui and his daughter talking behind the yard, so she went there to look for them. As soon as he got there, a spiritual consciousness swept over him, and Yuan quickly evacuated. This spiritual consciousness does not belong to Mujukan, it must belong to Zhang Shui's father. Isn't this person checking Uncle Mu's yard? This man is so courageous. A person with a golden elixir level consciousness dares to look around in Mu's mansion. He really doesn't want to live anymore. Yuan suddenly felt angry. She was planning something on her mind. Didn't he see it? That would just make him unable to use his spiritual consciousness, and also give him a warning. Yuan's consciousness passed by again, and sure enough, the consciousness was still sweeping around outside Uncle Mu's backyard. Yuan fiercely sent out 3 soul thorns, piercing the spiritual consciousness. Immediately there was a muffled sound, and the divine consciousness disappeared. Snort. Yuan heard Jiang's father's muffled groan and knew that he was injured, so she withdrew from her consciousness. In the room, a trace of blood flowed from the corner of Zhang Donghai's mouth. He held his head in his hands, and his consciousness felt as if someone had cut him off, which made him miserable. He knew that he was discovered by others while peeping, and was attacked by others' consciousness. This person just gave him a warning and did not kill him. It seemed that he was someone from this clan. I think it should be the 2 nascent soul monks from Dafang. Zhang Donghai's heart suddenly sank to the bottom of the valley. He would be able to live peacefully in the following days. Yuan saw that she couldn't find anything tonight, so she went back. Tomorrow Zhang Shui knew that her father's consciousness was injured, so she would definitely come to check, and she would come back again. There are still people like this in the Mu tribe, so she will definitely not be lenient, but she has to understand the purpose of Zhang Shui and his daughter. They are afraid that they will team up with other immortal cultivating families, cooperate inside and outside, and destroy the Mu clan. There are only so many people she can protect. How is it? Did you detect anything? Yuan asked Mujukan as soon as she recovered her consciousness. No, I just gave Zhang Shui's father a warning. What about you, didn't you go? Mujukan nodded, if you go, there is no need for me to go. What warning should I give him? Yuan, his consciousness has been checking outside the courtyard of his parents, and he threw a soul thorn to him. You ask someone to check the origins of Zhang Shui and his daughter. I always feel that he has evil intentions. Mujukan lay down, held her in his arms and said, I've sent someone to check. There should be news in the next few days. Haha, you are getting more and more thoughtful in doing things. Yuan kissed him on the face. That's right, as the family grows, there are always some people who want to cause trouble, so we must defend ourselves against everything. Well, it's true. It was my eldest brother and his family before, and now it's our clan. Can't you just cultivate immortality with peace of mind? There are always some people who come out to stir up trouble. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 428. Chapter 428 Death of Father Zhang. It's always profitable. Not everyone likes to earn spiritual stones by themselves. There are many people who always like to take shortcuts. Mujukan patted Yuan. Not everyone likes Waner to have a precious space in her body. No need to worry about cultivation resources. His Waner is undoubtedly diligent, excellent, motivated, and hard-working. Even if she has space, she does not sit back and rely on space like some monks. Her hard work and improvement are beyond the reach of many people. This also means that those who are just like a dog and a dog are doomed to have a short journey to immortality. Well, let's sleep. Yuan didn't want to say any more. Okay, Mujukan kissed her on the lips, hugged her tightly, closed her eyes and fell asleep. The next day, when Yuan woke up, Mujukan had already gone out. She turned over and after cleaning herself and practicing some exercises, she released her consciousness and went to Jiang's father's yard to check. As soon as her consciousness entered, Zhang Shui and his daughter were talking. Father, you can stay here with peace of mind during this period. No one will come here to disturb you, and no one will know that your consciousness is injured. Okay, your elixirs and spiritual stones will be delivered on time. When my father reaches the highest level of cultivation, he will be the Yuanying major cultivator. Why don't people from the Mu clan invite my father to worship me? Father, why do you insist on being someone else's sacrifice? What do you know? We casual cultivators have no support and no source of cultivation. We have to find a strong family to rely on. Now that you are pregnant again, as long as you give birth to the eldest son of the second wife, half of the Mu clan will be with your second wife. Ken. But what's the matter? This child is the eldest son of your second wife. They are brothers. No one will doubt who the child will look like in the future. Anyway, they are all from his Mu family. Yuan was shocked when she heard this. The child Zhang Shui was pregnant with was not the third child but the fourth child. No wonder Mrsu was hesitant to speak that day and looked worried. She probably knew about it, but she just kept silent about the family's scandal because it was not allowed to be publicized. Yuan recovered her thoughts and continued listening. Then Zhang Shui said, Father said it simply, as long as the eldest brother controls the Mu clan, there is nothing wrong with us, the second brother. Yesterday we went to see my father-in-law, and he said that we can earn spiritual stones by ourselves in the future. Look at that. He was frustrated by his second brother. Humph. Then you don't know how to deal with Mujukan, and he has the guts to kill you, who is pregnant with the second wife's child. Holy shit, is there such a shameless father in this world? Yuan's outlook was refreshed again. What kind of father and daughter is this for? Well, a daughter obeys her father, Zhang Shui replied shyly. Mad, this wretched woman really misses her man. Be careful to stay hidden and don't make the matter a big deal. Just let Mujukan listen to you. I heard that his wife is not easy to mess with. This daughter understands that she is a jealous woman. The Mu Shui died in her hands before. Mu-sichin hated their family in her heart. She just suffered from being weak and could not find a chance to take revenge. Which Mu-xue? Mu-sichin's sister, but not her biological sister. Is that so? Then the relationship between their second bedroom and the eldest bedroom is not as harmonious as it seems. From now on, I will whisper in their ears more often when I have nothing to do. I am also afraid that the relationship between them will not break up. If the two bedrooms really break up, yes, the second wife has a father taking care of her, so that's not, ha ha ha. Zhang Donghai laughed heartily, as if the second wife was already in his pocket. I know, Dad, don't laugh, it will be serious if others find out. Discovered, father's formation is a fourth-level formation. Has anyone heard of it? Mujukin and the others, their nascent soul cultivation level cannot break father's formation. There is nothing wrong with being careful. Let the father take care of her. The daughter has been here for a long time and she has to go back. Okay, go back. When Yuan heard this, her consciousness retreated. This Zhang Shue's father turns out to be the biggest troublemaker. It seems that he can't be kept. A cold light flashed in Yuan's eyes. A little golden elixir was actually causing trouble in the Mu clan, and he still wanted to. The second wife of the Mu tribe has a big appetite. Yuan is not a Torah person in doing things. If such people are not eliminated in time, who knows what trouble will happen later. Take care of this person, and then take care of Zhang Shui later. She can no longer control the relationship with her second wife, so she will deal with it together this time. Yuan regained her consciousness and came to Jiang's father's room. Father Zhang had already fallen asleep and was not practicing. Yuan quickly sent out 2 soul stabs. After shouting in her heart, Father Jiang's body shook twice and then lost his breath. Yuan controlled the strength of the soul stab, not hitting the head, but just blasting the sea of consciousness. Yuan withdrew her consciousness at this time and sent a little snake to collect Father Jiang's storage bag, waiting for the good show at night. Little snake quickly collected the storage bag and came back. Yuan opened it and took a look. There was nothing in it. She was really poor. There are a lot of empty elixir bottles, all of which are special elixir bottles for the Mu tribe. Yuan secretly cursed the useless person, packed up and went to the clan to find Mujukin. She wanted to see if Zhang Shui would come today. Mujukin's office is in the small courtyard next to Mr. Mu's study. When Yuan arrived, Mu Yunshin had just left. Yuan pushed the door open and walked in. Weiner is here. When Mujukin saw it was her, he quickly got up and led her to sit down at the coffee table next to him. Come to see your office. What happened to the big brother just now? Yuan asked as she sat down. I just came to ask if I should send out some spiritual stones. Oh, he also knows how to ask. It's not what I ordered. It's not like you don't know his habits. Well, then you go to work, I'll be waiting for you here. Okay, Mujukin kissed her and went to work. There were a lot of things to do every day. If he lived like this every day, he really wouldn't have time to practice. It's okay to do these things when you are settling down your cultivation. The day passed quickly, and the couple packed up and prepared to go back. Liang Bao stayed in the business house and did not come back, so the couple went to see Mrsu before returning to their yard. Second uncle and second aunt, why are you at the door of our yard? As soon as the two arrived, they saw Mr. Mu and Mrs. Mu standing at the door dejectedly. Second Master Mu and his 2 men shrank when they saw Mujukin. Yuan felt funny in her heart, but now she knew she was scared. Mu Iryi said, Chener, we have something to ask you too. Let's talk in the room. Mujukin opened the formation, and a group of 4 people entered the courtyard and came to the living room, where the 4 of them sat down. What's the matter with my second uncle? Mujukin asked. Master Mu-er looked at Mrs. Mu-er, who glared at him and looked away. Second Master Mu was helpless, so he said, Chener, that Zhang family's father died in our backyard, and Zhang family wants us to give her an explanation. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 429. Chapter 429. The truth comes out. Dead? What's the explanation? What's the explanation? If you die, you'll die. Just burn it, Mujukin said with an expressionless expression on his face. His tone and expression were as unconcerned as if a monster had died. He really didn't care, and it wasn't who he was. When Jiang's father died, no one except his Wanner could enter the formation and kill him. This isn't right. After all, they are my in-laws, and they died in our clan. Second Master Mu was a little anxious. He died in the house by himself, and there was a formation to defend him. What should I say? What's wrong? Mujukin's tone was a little harsh. But he died from a soul stab. Muiryi glanced at Mujukin. Second uncle, ask the third and fourth brothers to bring their younger brothers and sisters over, and I will give them an explanation. Yuan waved her hand towards Mujukin and said to the second Master Mu. Mr. Mu looked at Mrs. Mu. They didn't know what Yuan was going to do. They made eye contact, and Mrs. Mu went back to call for someone. Second uncle, you know that Zhang Shui's father died from the soul stab, and you must know that one of us did it. I can tell you that I was the one who killed him. You will understand later, and you will have to consider it later. Know how to bear the consequences of the matter, Yuan said calmly. Second Master Mu looked at Yuan in horror. It was so natural for her to admit that she had killed someone. Muiryi cursed this of death in his heart, and became even more afraid of Yuan. Mujukin smiled lovingly at her. Wanner was good at killing. As long as it was the person Wanner killed, he deserved to be killed. He didn't know, otherwise he would have made up for it. Just when Master Mu opened his mouth to say something, Mrs. Mu came with her son and daughter-in-law. Sit down, Yuan licked her lips towards the chair opposite. The five of them were seated, and Mrs. Mu was still sitting next to Mr. Mu. Zhang Shui was still wiping her tears, looking like she was crying. Mu Sichen and Mu Mingchen lowered their heads. Only Gu Kaiyun sat calmly. Plop, Zhang Shui suddenly knelt down. She looked at Mujukin, with a weak look on her face, and said with sobs, Second brother, my father died in the Mu clan for no reason. I beg my second brother to make the decision for Shui. Mujukin frowned, making the decision? How about letting me kill the person who killed your father? Zhang Shui opened her eyes wide, and her delicate look was really pitiful. Shui, I, she said while looking at Yuan. Yuan was annoyed when she saw this. She waved her hand impatiently, it's all up to you. Don't you know what your father and daughter said this morning? Do you want me to help you recall the memories? Zhang Shui looked at Yuan fiercely. This time her eyes were even wider. She was scared. Second Master Mu and others looked at Zhang Shui in confusion. Yuan took one look at the person in the second room and felt that she had no good feelings at all. He was as stupid as a pig and was fooled by a woman. She said coldly, are you afraid now? There are no outsiders here. It's up to you or me. No, second sister-in-law, I don't ask for anything anymore. I was wrong. I was wrong. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. My father died because he went crazy while practicing Falun Gong. Zhang Shui was so frightened that she waved her hands repeatedly. Who would have expected that Yuan would have such a virtuous character, that she would kill someone if she told him to, and even if this person killed, he would expose those things, but after all, it was a family scandal, how could she say that? If so, How could she still have a foothold in the Mu clan? It's too late. Yuan looked at her coldly. If this woman is not eliminated, she will be a disaster after all. Whoops, Yuan fired a burst of spiritual power, hitting Zhang Shui's danshan to seal her cultivation level, preventing her from doing anything unexpected. Second Master Mu and the others just watched blankly as Yuan took action and Zhang Shui collapsed on the ground. Mu Sichen did not even try to help him. Yuan shook her head. There were so many cowardly, selfish, and stupid people in the Mu clan who were really holding them back. If she takes power in the Mu clan, she will definitely exclude the second wife. Zhang Shui, it's not that I won't leave you a way to survive. It's just that what you did is too dirty and too whimsical. Don't even think about it. Mujukan and I are nascent soul cultivators after all. Your tricks are in our eyes. There is simply not enough to see. Let's not talk about whose child you are pregnant with. How dare you, your father and your daughter, to set your sights on Mujukan? How can you imagine my man? Even if Xiao misses my man, you can't. Mixia was the one who missed my man and was killed by me. You also provoked a discord and asked the second aunt to separate from the first family because of Mixia's matter. Whose child is Shui pregnant with? Mu Sichen interrupted Yuan and asked her. Yuan sneered, you should ask Zhang Shui this question. Mu Sichen felt a ruthlessness in his body. He knelt down, held Zhang Shui's shoulders with both hands, and stared at Zhang Shui fiercely. Tell me, whose child is she carrying? No wonder I had to let you touch her. Zhang Shui has been stunned for a long time, how could she dare to say that? Mu Mingchen's body trembled when Mu Sichen asked Zhang Shui fiercely. Gu Qiu on the side turned a blind eye. It was Mrs. Mu Er who went over and pulled Mu Sichen away. Sichen, you will scare Shui like this. Mom, she is not carrying my child. Mu Sichen pointed at Zhang Shui and shouted. Yuan watched happily from the side. Before she could tell whose child Zhang Shui was pregnant with, Mu Sichen lost his temper. Tisk tisk tisk, there is no trust at all when they are still husband and wife, but there is no trust between them at all. Second sister-in-law, please tell me whose child she is carrying. Mu Sichen came to Yuan and asked with a lifeless look. People who didn't know thought he was heartbroken, but in fact he wanted to kill someone. Are you sure you want to know? Yuan asked with a half smile. She glanced at Mu Mingchen, and he looked at her nervously. Mu Sichen nodded heavily. Yuan sighed and looked at Mujukan, who smiled and nodded towards her. Yuan turned around and pursed her lips at Mu Mingchen. Well, Zhang Shui's father said that no matter who the child looks like when he is born, no one will doubt that he is the son of the second brother. Because the second brother's brothers look very similar, no one will doubt it. You think the child is Mu Mingchen's, right? Zhang Shui, am I right? What? Mu Sichen looked at Mu Mingchen, who was completely stunned. Mu Mingchen's head hung low. Mu Erye and his wife were stunned. Even Mujukan twitched the corner of his mouth fiercely, and his eyes turned colder when he looked at Zhang Shui. How could such a thing miss him? Only Gu Qiu remained so calm and relaxed, as if these things had nothing to do with her. Ah, you are a scourge. You are a scourge, how can you scourge my two sons? Madame Mu Er rushed towards Zhang Shui like a madman, slapped her in the face, and pulled her with both hands to shake her wildly. Zhang Shui was like a puppet, letting Mrs. Mu beat and scold her without any reaction at all. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 430. Chapter 430. It's over. Mom, please stop hitting her. Mu Mingchen finally rushed over, knelt in front of Mrs. Mu Er, held her, and begged Zhang Shui for mercy. Get out. You unworthy idiot. Mrs. Mu Er slapped Mu Mingchen hard, and looked at her little son with fierce eyes. How could he mess around with his sister-in-law and get pregnant with his child when he had a wife? Mrs. Muir was extremely disappointed with her two sons. Look at Dafang's two sons and two daughters-in-law, and then look at her two sons, what else is she arguing about? She looked at Zhang Shui again. Ever since she got this woman, she had been nagging in her ears every day. She was also deceived by lard, and was influenced by this woman. Just these two idiot sons, what ability did they have to compete with the big house? Mrs. Muir pressed her twitching temples and slumped on the chair, completely ignoring that her image at this time was hard to look at. Second Master Mu only patted her and then lowered his head. He didn't know what he was thinking. He still blamed himself for seeing this scene. In short, no one knew. Mu Sichen also reacted at this moment. He rushed towards Mu Mingchen, and the two brothers started to struggle on the ground. Second Master Mu looked up at his two sons fighting on the ground, and then at his old wife slumped in the chair. He shook his head. His face was really humiliating. He closed his eyes and looked as if he had aged 20 years. Yuan looked at Mr. Mu. Was he just watching the family making trouble in their place? Really willing to show off her shame, she said, "Second uncle, take this person back and settle your family matters first." Yuan took the family affairs very seriously, meaning that the family affairs were taken care of, as well as the official affairs of the clan. Second Master Mu looked a little dazed. He said to Gu Qiu, "From the fourth son's family, please take the fourth son back." At this moment, Gu Qiu had some reaction. She nodded, walked up and pulled the two brothers apart, performed a dusting operation on Mu Mingchen, and pulled him away. Second Master Mu called the servants to take Zhang Shui and Mu Sichen back. He picked up Mrs. Muir and went back. The farce ended like this. "Let's go have a rest." Yuan got up and stretched, yawning and looking very sleepy. Indeed, she dozed off watching it. Mu Jukan nodded. The next day, news came from the second room of the Mu clan that the third young lady went crazy while practicing Qigong and died from explosion. The third young master was saddened by the death of his wife and went into seclusion. The fourth young master went out for training. Yuan curled her lips. The bugs in the Mu tribe were finally cleared away. The person in the second room is still a bit smart and is not completely stupid. If Zhang Shui doesn't die, Mu Jukan will make her die. Instead of doing this, it would be better for them to kill him directly. Mu Jukan is still a good boy. I believe that after this incident, Fang will not cause trouble again unless he becomes stronger. Indeed, the next day, Second Master Mu also went to the clan to resign from his post, saying that he would concentrate on practicing. From then on, the entire courtyard of the second house seemed to be enclosed. Yuan went down the mountain in a very good mood and came to the trading house in Juyo City. The shopkeepers and clerks in the store did not recognize her, and they all greeted her warmly when they came in. Yuan nodded with satisfaction, waved her hand to the clerk and said, "You are busy with your business, I'm just here to take a look." A female chi refining clerk gave her a polite salute and then left. She did come to see it. She wanted to see the market situation of the elixir and take a look at the two treasures. Yuan looked at the counters on the first floor and then walked towards the second floor. The second floor contains items used by monks in the foundation building period, including elixirs. As soon as she went up, she saw Urbeo carrying something with a guest. After not seeing each other for a while, the aura on Urbeo's body has become much more restrained, as if the lead has been washed away, and the whole person looks much warmer, making people feel like they are taking a breath of spring breeze. "Mom, why are you here?" Urbeo felt a gaze looking at him. He turned around and saw that it was his mother. "You brat, I haven't seen you for so long. I miss you. Where is your brother?" Yuan stepped forward, patted her son and asked him. Urbeo smiled. "Eldest brother and uncle went to another city." The monk who was buying elixirs next to him saw the warm scene between mother and son and quickly stepped away, letting other shop assistants get the elixirs. The mother and son walked to the lounge on the second floor while talking. How are you doing here? It's okay. I can come into contact with different people and see different things every day. It's no less rewarding than going out for experience. It can sharpen one's state of mind here. Mom, I was too impetuous before. I wanted to stay here for a few years. I just want to go out and practice, Urbeo said calmly. Yuan touched her son's head and said lovingly, when my son grows up, it is very valuable that you can understand your own shortcomings. If you look at the root of everything, you will find that many things are actually caused by yourself. It doesn't have much to do with outsiders. This way, Mom can stay in seclusion with peace of mind. Urbeo Diantien held her hand tightly, feeling a little reluctant to let go. He would not see his mother for a long time, and he had not seen his father for such a long time. Yuan couldn't help laughing when she saw his sad face. This child had such a strong Oedipus complex. She held her son in her arms and said, Bao is good, isn't he still having dad outside? Urbeo nodded. Yuan sat for a while and then left. Urbeo was working, and she was embarrassed to take up too much of his time. She was preparing to go into seclusion, so she came to see her son, but she didn't expect that Dabeo was not there. Yuan walked around upstairs for a while and then returned to the clan. After returning to the space to refine a large amount of elixirs and handing them to Mujukan, she went to the Yu clan to visit Feng and Feng Yuan. Come back and prepare for retreat. Waner, are you in retreat outside or in space? Mujukan asked. Of course he is in seclusion in space. Hurry up. I went to see Urbeo a few days ago. This kid is probably feeling sad because he won't be able to see me for a long time. She didn't want to go into seclusion, so she simply grew up with her sons. Maybe the troublesome matter was solved. With her mind relaxed, the barrier of cultivation was also loosened. She wanted to seize the opportunity to break through, but if she missed this opportunity, she was afraid it would take a long time to get this contract. Okay, Waner can rest assured and retreat, I will visit them often. Well, remember to be close to your son. The monk also has adolescence and rebellious period. The two children are 15 years old, which is just right. Mujukan nodded, then Waner has gone into seclusion, I know what you want to do. I'm not allowed to attract bees or butterflies during the retreat. Yuan quickly interrupted him. Yes, you have to let your husband eat his fill, Mujukan said and threw her down. In the space, Yuan cursed Mujukan in her mind, calling her a beast, and then used several dust removal techniques on herself to get rid of the smell. She went to the black pool and directly filled some soul liquid and took out a lot of spirit stones, and then came to the training room to start practicing in seclusion. This time she did not break through to the middle stage of nascent soul, and she did not leave the barrier. The higher the level of cultivation, the harder it is to break through. This is a small level, I believe it is still very easy. End of this chapter.